know what's going on today. I really don't know if y'all know. I mean, we got to pay attention to what's happening here. I school one person after another on the sport of basketball. No one can go up against me. It's Stephen Naismith. Not Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen Naismith. So what do? They try to bring in the big guns. And J.J. Redick one day and J.J. Redick and Tim Legler the next. It don't matter. It's First Take. It ain't JJ's podcast, which is very good, by the way. Very good. But it ain't JJ's podcast. First Take, y'all. Oh, hi, Molly. How you doing?
Hey.
Woman in black. I'll see how this goes. First Take's in the house. Let's go.
Curry can't hit the three.
That set the tone for some ugly offense.
Our guys need to just relax a little bit and see if we can knock down some threes.
Curry got a three. Curry on target.
That's just Steph. He has that mindset where he is the best shooter of all time.
Curry stumbles. Fend off. Fade. Bam!
All right. Hi, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
How you doing?
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get it. We got a lot of hoops to get into. Without John Morant, the Memphis Grizzlies still led the entire game until the final minute when Steph Curry took over and the tides turned. The battle-tested Warriors certainly know how to close out a game, completing the mission with a 3-point victory and now take a commanding 3-1 lead over Memphis. Golden State lit it up in the final quarter Monday night behind the work of Steph Curry. He scored 18 of the Warriors' 39 fourth-quarter points, including the go-ahead free throw with 45 seconds left to take their first lead of the game. Stephen A.
Yeah.
How should the Warriors feel about getting the close win over the jawless Grizz?
I think they should be concerned because I've never seen the Golden State Warriors look this bad in the Steve Kerr era. They were awful. They couldn't buy a basket. Now, maybe it was because they took Memphis for granted because they knew they didn't have John Morant. Maybe it was because it was just an off night. What I'm saying is, I watched the Boston Celtics play Milwaukee last night. I'm still looking at Milwaukee. I'm looking at Embiid returning. I'm looking at Miami being Miami. If the Warriors play that way, you ain't winning the championship. And that's how I'm measuring them by, since they are my pick, they're your pick. That's how I'm looking at it. That's the litmus test that I'm measuring it upon. And so for me to watch them struggle the way that they struggled last night just to make a shot, I was not happy about it.
I think for me, I would look at it the other way. You still won a game when you played that way offensively. I'm sure it's happened. I can't recall watching a game in which I thought to myself, I've never seen Klay Thompson and Steph Curry shoot like this on the same night collectively. And they were good looks for the most part, and they couldn't buy one. Missed their first, 15, 16 three-pointers as a team. They look buried. Bane's throwing in half-court shots. They're picking up loose ball rebounds and putting them in, Kyle Anderson. And I'm saying to myself, it's Memphis's night. It's just their night. It's not going to happen tonight. It's going to get real interesting now going forward. And what do? They resort to the greatness of Steph Curry down the stretch. He gets hot. And I look at it like this. A playoff series is checking boxes, getting to 4. It's a race to 4. It's really all that matters at the end of the day. The fact you could win a game when you played that poorly offensively. Jordan Poole, a shell of what he has been to this part in the postseason. And you still figured out a way to win the game. And look, Memphis contributed to it. Their late-game shot selection, their ball management at the end of the game was terrible. They showed a lack of poise. It allowed the gate to be open. But I would actually look, if I'm Steve Kerr, I wake up with such a sense of relief that we could play that poorly and win a really, really important game. I'm still cool with Golden State. They did score 140 points in the last game. So this isn't a trend every night where they're struggling to get to 90. They just put up a 140 spot, and they played horrible last night.
Yeah, and they didn't have Kerr, obviously, coaching.
We knew with John Morant out that the Grizzlies' defense was going to be better. That was the case all regular season in the 25 games that he missed. I think what maybe is a little concerning is it seems like, at least in this series specifically, the Warriors' offense is toggling between the Warriors' offense that we have all come to know and love with the ball movement and player movement, and then there's just these quick possessions where there's no real ball movement or player movement, and they're taking tough contested shots. And some of that, of course, is the Grizzlies' defense. But when we talk about a championship and we look forward, you mentioned those teams, we look forward to potentially the Suns in the next round or a Boston Celtics in the finals, a Milwaukee Bucks, Philly. Like, they're going to have a lot of trouble scoring against those defenses. I think about the Celtics a lot. That matchup for the Warriors, I don't like that matchup for the Warriors.
I agree with you. I mean, it's particularly based on what I saw last night. Listen, the bottom line is this: we know what stirs the cup is Steph Curry, and then we get to Steph Curry combined with Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, and when you see them looking normal, and then you think about Boston's defense and what they can do, all of a sudden you start looking at the Boston Celtics, particularly when they come out. I said coming in yesterday when I was with JJ Tim, I said, look, Boston's got to win last night, going into last night. I said, they don't win this series, it's over because you're not beating Giannis 3 straight games. It's not happening. It's just not, there's no way. They come back, they down double digits, they come right back in the same damn quarter. This is what they do. We know they can clamp down. And so when I'm looking at Golden State struggling the way that they're struggling, I'm saying to myself, look, you can't let that happen, because you will not win the championship if that happens. Yeah, I think that Golden State is good enough to get by anybody in the West, including Phoenix, including Dallas. That is what my core belief has been all season long. And I believe they're going to win the chip. But then I'm watching Boston, and I'm watching their defense elevate the way that it has. And I know that Milwaukee doesn't have Middleton and stuff like that. But when you look at Boston, and then you start measuring what it's going to require in order for you to knock them off, if you're a team like the Golden State Warriors, you can't play like you played last night.
Problem I have, well, here's the thing, though. Think about what we're all saying. We're talking about Boston matching up with Golden State. We're talking about Milwaukee matching up with Golden State. Well, you know what that would have meant? That would have meant Golden State just beat the Suns. How different are you going to feel? Assuming, look, I don't want to dismiss Dallas. That's a 2-2 series.
I'm not dismissing any of
that. Right, so I want to be clear. That's what I expect to happen. I expect Phoenix and Golden State to play for a right to go to the NBA Finals. If we are getting that matchup, that means that Golden State just operated in a way to beat the Phoenix Suns, the best team in the NBA this season. So my point is, 2 weeks from now, if that's the matchup we get in the finals, maybe you feel a little differently about Golden State and what they must have had to do in that series to give you more faith that they can operate against Milwaukee or against Boston. Look, that was ugly last night. There's no way around it. They still dug out of it.
Yeah, but that's without Ja, though. I know that they're better defensively without Ja. You're right about Memphis. But my God, when he is on the court, with the things that this brother can do and how he galvanizes those troops offensively, to me, as impressive as Memphis has been this year without Ja in the games he has missed, it is still not that big of a deal that a fully loaded Golden State Warriors team beat a team without Ja. I don't care how it is. It's not that big of a deal.
You don't think that was a missed opportunity, that they didn't close it out? I mean, 45 seconds.
No,
they led the entire game.
I'm saying it was a missed opportunity by Memphis.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal that a fully loaded Golden State Warriors team struggled that much against a Memphis team without Ja.
I agree with you there, because I don't think any win in the playoffs is a big deal. Any win is important in the playoffs, and you're obviously going to get another team's best shot. And the Grizzlies, as we mentioned, they believe they can win without Ja. They've proven they can do that. I want to be very clear. I've not changed my pick here. I've not changed my pick.
Okay.
I still think
you did that yesterday. You can't do that 2 days in a row. Okay.
I still think the Suns are going to represent the Western Conference in the finals.
Okay.
I do want to acknowledge there was
How confident about that?
Very.
Really? Okay.
Very. And I'm not a Warriors hater. I think the Suns are the best team in basketball. I know they struggled game 3 and 4. I'm sure we'll talk about that series later.
Say very. That's very bold.
Yeah.
Very bold.
Yeah.
That's the only way to beat it. If you're going to put a pick out, you got to ride with it until they're gone.
Really, I have to learn that one day. I don't know if I know how to
ride with it.
I'll learn how to be bold, Tim. I'll learn. I mean, it's going to take me some time.
I want to say one thing, though, about the Golden State Warriors, and that is we know that Steph and Clay and Draymond and now Jordan Poole are so important to their team and what they do. But historically, the great Warriors team always had really good role players. Okay. And there was a stretch last night early in the fourth quarter. They're down 12. They're struggling to score. Otto Porter hits back-to-back threes. Jordan Poole hits Kevon Looney for a pocket pass, and Andrew Wiggins gets a floater. That stretch kept them in the game. Ultimately, Steph Curry took over down the stretch, but that's a promising sign for the Warriors if your role players are stepping up in those big moments.
Okay. All right.
All right, you guys want to move on?
Let's do it.
Okay. The Celtics took down the Bucks 116-108 to even the series at 2 games apiece behind Al Horford and Jason Tatum, each scoring 30 points. Horford and Tatum became just the third pair of Celtics teammates with 30 points each in playoff games over the last 30 seasons. Horford said Giannis Antetokounmpo's stare fired him up. Seemed a little personal, so he responded by setting a personal playoff record. Take a listen.
I don't really know what he said to me, but the way he was looking at me and the way that he was going about it really didn't sit well with me. And at that point, I think just something switched with me in the game.
At the end of the day, I know what the deal is. The team knows what the deal is. We gotta go to Boston and try to win a game. Now, no matter what I feel, it doesn't really matter. Emotions are for movies, not for basketball.
I love that.
I like that line.
I love
That's a
this
good line.
guy.
I like
Emotions
that.
are for movies. Yeah.
And some commercials, by the way. Some commercials.
Yeah, absolutely. So at times, fellas, it feels like Giannis has to do it all, especially with Chris Middleton sidelined with that MCL. Are the Bucks, JJ, asking too much of Giannis not having Middleton out there?
They really have no choice. They really have no choice. This is the issue you have without Chris Middleton. And we talked about this earlier today with Mike Greenberg. Their closing play is a 3-5 side pick and roll with Chris Middleton and Giannis, or a dribble handoff on that left side with Giannis and Chris Middleton. That's what they ran all last playoffs to beat the Nets, to win the Eastern Conference against the Atlanta Hawks, and to win in the finals against the Phoenix Suns. You're missing that right now. So much of the offense has to be generated by Giannis. And he's been in all sorts of different positions, and he's going against a loaded defense. Look, Drew Holiday is one of my dear friends. He is better suited in that third role on offense than he is in the second role. He's really struggled this series. As great as he's been defensively and as great as Wes Matthews have been defensively, there's just no one on their team with Drew struggles like this that can generate good offense. And that's not a knock. Like, Pat Connaughton has played really well this series. Bobby Portis has had some moments. Like, they have good role players. But for generating offense, it's Giannis and Giannis alone right now. And that's a real problem. And I think we talked about Toll earlier, over the next 3 games, with 2 of those games in Boston, you're asking a lot of Giannis, which is why I think the Celtics are going to win the series.
2-2. Drew Holiday hasn't really injected himself into this series offensively at all. And the other guy, you mentioned Portis, and you said his name, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not a casual thing. This is a guy that averaged 15 points a game in the previous 5. He's critical. So people might think of Bobby Portis as a role player. Mm-hmm. Number one, he is by far the number one guy in terms of energizing their team. And I've said it for the last 2 seasons. 1 basket out of Bobby Portis is worth 4 for most guys.
That's right.
Because of the way that their team and in that building reacts to him. He's been a non-factor the last 2 games. He needs to reemerge in this series. He's too important, and particularly without Middleton. Holiday can't play worse offensively right now. He hasn't injected himself, and despite all of that, they had a 12-point lead in the third quarter last night. I still have a lot of faith in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think the question was, are they asking too much? No. Heavy lies the head that wears the crown. This is what you ask of guys this good,
yeah.
right? And you don't have Middleton. This is what you expect Giannis to do and what I expect him to be. I expect Giannis Antetokounmpo to be the best player on the floor the remainder of this series and give the Milwaukee Bucks a chance to win it. And I picked them to win it. I picked them to get to the finals. I am sticking with that pick.
I think Giannis can very well be the best player on the floor, and it still not be enough. But I'm not going to blame it on Middleton's absence, to be quite honest with you. I'm of the mindset that, Boston's defense is what it is. Middleton would be something to deal with. I get all of that. Grayson Allen and Pat Connaughton, you expected to make a bigger contribution based on what you saw from them in the first round. But I think that the Milwaukee Bucks have enough pieces to make this interesting. I will remind everybody they had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. It's not like Boston has run away with it because Middleton was out there. So I'm saying that the point is you have shown an ability to do some of the things you normally do even without Middleton. But to me, if you've got an Al Horford dropping 30, you ain't winning. You ain't losing to anybody if you're the Boston Celtics. You certainly don't anticipate that. You know what Tatum can do. You know what Jaylen Brown can do. The question is what they're going to do consistently. But when you've got somebody like Al Horford doing what he's doing, then guess what? That doesn't really have much to do with the absence of a Middleton. Again, he's significant, and I'm not trying to downplay that by any stretch of the imagination. But the point is, you can't have somebody like Al Horford making the kind of contribution he was able to make last night. If that happens, I don't give a damn what Milwaukee has. They ain't beating Boston.
Yeah, so I just want a couple comments to that. So you mentioned the fourth quarter lead. And again, goes back to what I was saying earlier about closing games. They need Middleton to close games because if Giannis going against a set defense for first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, you need someone else to create offense for you down at the end of the game. And Giannis can do it. I'm not saying he can't do it. We saw that at the end of Game 3. He scored a bucket. Drew got Tatum to fall. He made the floater. But with Drew struggling the way he does, this is where they miss Chris Middleton. I also wanted to mention, you said Pat Connaughton has been phenomenal in this series. He's been phenomenal.
He's got 11 points.
He's a spot-up shooter, a good defender,
yes,
a good rebounder.
Absolutely.
For what his role is, he's been phenomenal.
Okay.
The thing you brought up about Horford, they've got to figure out what they're going to do when he picks and pops. Because right now, they're staying in basically a drop coverage. They're throwing it back to Horford. And as we saw on that dunk, Giannis has now got to close out onto him. He's knocking down jumpers. He's taking them off the dribble. I don't understand why they're not switching that. Giannis is more than capable, whether it's Tatum or Brown or whomever, Giannis is more than capable of switching that pick and roll. Then you rely on your secondary defenders, size and strength to deal with Horford if he goes to the post. They've got to make that adjustment.
Massive adjustment there. And also, I just did a touch screen on this because I looked at their late game execution offensively. They had possessions from an 85-85 standpoint the rest of the game. Their spacing was so poor at the start of the play. Part of it was because Giannis was gassed, and he was kind of camped out in the corner a little bit. But there were possessions where they had 8 players on one side of the floor, nobody in the strong side corner for a Giannis drive or a Drew Holiday drive. No bailout pass waiting for help. You're playing into the hands of an elite Boston Celtics team. That's the kind of thing that a smart mind like Mike Budenholzer is going to look at, and they're going to be better in late game, just making sure they've got threats in the right spot to give Giannis more room to operate. He had people in his lap last. Now, part of it he was tired. Part of it was the way they were set up offensively.
Yeah. But let me just throw this by y'all a second. I'm not. What I'm saying about the Boston Celtics, and this is what I want you to understand, JJ. When you look at the Boston Celtics, they seem to find a way to be there when it counts. So my assumption, and I'll admit it is an assumption, but I think an educated one, that even if Middleton was in the lineup, it would come down to the wire. That's why I point to what Al Horford did as opposed to what Middleton couldn't do because he wasn't in the lineup. I'm saying I know that Middleton is obviously an upgrade from a Grayson Allen, don't get me wrong. And you're right about Pat Connaughton, and you're right about Bobby Portis and how he needs to step up. But somehow, some way, when we've watched the Boston Celtics for the last 3 quarters of this season, when they've been one of the best teams in the NBA, what they've said to you is we're going to be there. And if they're going to be there, and you got a guy like Al Horford coming, doing what he did, that is something that I don't give a damn what Milwaukee has going for them. You got to make sure that can't happen. We expect Tatum. We expect Brown. One or the other, if not both, like they did in Game 2. But in the end, if you let somebody like Horford or Marcus Smart or somebody like that get off like Horford got off last night, you're not beating this team if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Stephen, I know you watch the games, and I've done games with you. I did one of the Brooklyn Boston games with you. You can't act like you're surprised that Al Horford has a big game. He's been phenomenal in these playoffs. He's been phenomenal.
Hold on.
Yeah, he went 6 for 6 in the quarter, and he had 30.
I understand that. I'm not saying
he's been phenomenal.
I love Al Horford.
He's been great.
He's a glue. He's a glue piece, a veteran. He plays on both ends of the floor. He can hit open shots. I'm very familiar with Al Horford's game. What I'm saying is 30 is 30, bro. I mean, damn. Come on now. You can't account for that if you're Milwaukee.
You can't account for that. It's a playoff record for him last.
He's had multiple games over 20. Like it's not like he's all of a sudden he's not like an 8-6 guy that's a role player.
No, but he's
not a really good basketball.
He's not a 30-point guy. He's not hitting 6 for 6 in the fourth quarter. He's not scoring 16 points in the fourth quarter.
I want to say one other thing.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to say one other thing to the Middleton point.
Sure.
While Legs was talking, they were showing clips of Giannis, again, dribbling the ball at the top of the key, going against 3 guys in his face, loaded up. When they run those plays with Middleton, I don't want to harp on this, but when they run those plays with Middleton, what happens? Giannis is catching the ball on the move, going downhill, putting pressure on the rim. He's able to finish. He's able to dish. Middleton is able to pull up. That is what they are missing right now. They are missing that in the fourth quarter. So Giannis can be great for as long as you want, but when they get to crunch time, they need Chris Middleton.
Yeah, okay. All
right. So who are you taking now? You're staying with the Bucks.
Oh, yeah,
Tell
I'm
us
staying
why.
with the Bucks. I stay because if I pick a team, I'm staying with that team.
Okay. Ride or die?
Is that a subtweet at me?
It's a 2-2 series. My goodness. Yeah, I'm sticking with the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm banking on that man right there, number 34.
Is he the most mentally tough player in the NBA,
He had a psychological breakthrough last year. I mean, he's past that hurdle. No moment's going to be too big for Giannis. I am a little concerned. I am a little concerned.
Yeah.
He looks like he's got the yips a little bit at the foul line again. I am concerned about that. It didn't look good last night. He didn't look sure of himself.
Yeah.
But what he did last year and the barrier he broke through after past playoff failures, I'm just banking on his greatness and his mental toughness.
Yeah, no one handles the media better than him right
Giannis
now.
is great. Giannis is going to get his. He's one of the great ones. There is no doubt about it. But two impediments potentially to his success: perimeter shooting and free throw shooting. We all know this to be true. It's not that he can't make them, it's that more often than not he doesn't. And when you look at a series like this, could something like that deficiency come back to bite you? You're damn right.
Did you both pick Boston?
I picked Boston
And
in
you're
7.
Are you
Both
staying with
I
it?
picked Boston. Yeah, I'm staying with it.
I wavered because I said my pick was whoever wins this series is going to the finals.
Okay.
But after yesterday, I will be definitive,
Okay.
and I will say I think the Celtics are going to win. And by the way,
Well,
I'm a
just so proud
Giannis
of you.
believer.
I'm
I'm
just
a
so proud of
Giannis
you.
believer.
All right.
I remember you knocking Giannis earlier in the season,
Yes,
talking
that's
about
right.
how he can't finish
Wait a
games.
second. Am I
No, hold up.
listen,
I didn't say he can't
Wait,
finish.
there's a lot happening
my
right
dear
now.
friend,
I
Jay,
never
I'm not
that.
doubting
Am
Giannis.
I hearing,
I'm
but I'm
saying
not hearing what you just said, Craig.
Celtics
You're
will win.
saying, but you're saying you didn't definitively come to that conclusion until they make a comeback in the fourth quarter of Game 4, and now you're willing to say Boston because they got 2 out of 3 at home? You didn't say that before the series, that you thought definitively they would win the series?
Well,
How did you avoid that, by the way?
hold on a
Because that's
second.
not
Hold on a
what they let you
second.
do around here.
I said
explain yourself.
They don't let you do
Explain
that
yourself.
around here.
You asked me this last week, and I'll tell you the same answer. For months,
Right.
I've said,
All right.
finals rematch. We got Suns-Bucks finals rematch,
Yeah.
and then Middleton gets hurt.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to assess the
I
Bucks
got
in
you.
real
Okay.
time. You got to give me at least a
right.
couple
No, I hear
games
you.
to do
But
that.
around here-
You got to
That's
give me
fair.
a couple games to do
Around
that.
here, they make you
wanna
pick
bring
on a
it up.
daily
I've
I
said
know that.
Suns
They
Bucks
make you
since
pick it up.
January.
That's true. You got to pick at the beginning of the series.
Opening
You
night.
knew Middleton wasn't available at the beginning of this series. Why you got to wait for? Now, that's what we usually say.
Listen.
But I'm going to let you pass on that today. I'm going to let you pass. I'm going to let you
He's
pass.
just starting, so he wants to be
That's
right all the
He's a
time.
rookie. He's a
Opening
rookie.
night, they want to go.
After a few finals, he'll be making picks Game 1, ready to go, definitive. All right, guys, let's stay with this game. So a couple of dunks going back and forth after Giannis Antetokounmpo dunked on Al Horford early in the third quarter and gave a stare down, receiving a technical foul. Horford returned the favor in the fourth with a throwdown of his own. Horford drew a tech after the dunk as he inadvertently hit Giannis in the face in the immediate celebration. Stephen A. not happy about that tech. This is about the dumbest bleep I've seen in basketball. So Al Horford, why am I reading your tweet, by the way? You should read it in your own
You're the
voice.
host.
So Al Horford drives in for a dunk on Giannis and comes down with his left arm accidentally on Giannis's face, and that's a technical foul. What the hell has happened to the NBA? That's as inadvertent as it gets.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, guys. You drive right, you come from the right wing, you drive right, you dunk it, you coming from the baseline, basically, you dunk it on Giannis, you come down, your arm hits his face, and that's a technical foul? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Somebody got to speak up about this. We can't listen. The NBA is going to do what the NBA is going to do, but public pressure forces people to reflect upon things from time to time, anyway. And this is one of those things that we got to sit up there and just say to yourself, "Come on, can we play basketball, please?" You know, Giannis went down because it was an and one. He got fouled on that play by Giannis, and because on the way down you hit Giannis in the face, that's a technical foul. Come on, y'all. It's just too much. It's just too much. These calls are ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of replay, by the way, taking all day, every day. I mean, damn, I got time to cook dinner by the time they finish evaluating a particular play or whatever. You're almost on the verge of getting as bad as baseball with how long games take because of what you're doing to slow the game down with all of these damn video replays. It's getting a bit ridiculous. That was not a technical foul. He came down, his arm came down, he hit him in the face. So what? Keep moving on, especially since you called the foul against Giannis, who fouled him on a play.
Can I ask you a question
Sure.
before I
Sure.
sort of answer the question about the Al Horford technical? Do you prefer that they don't have video replay? Because you want them to get it right. You want them to get it right.
Me personally, last 3 minutes of the game.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. But what
Last 3
about
minutes of the game.
what about if there's a hostile act? They should call that in real time. What about if off the ball someone hits somebody in a certain area? You've got to review all this stuff.
We're talking about things that when you're talking about violence, you're talking about harm that has been done to somebody else.
I'm not just talking about violence. I'm talking about all the plays that occur throughout a game that they review,
Right.
and Twitter,
Right.
Us the next day,
Right.
we're all in an uproar
Right.
if they get it wrong. if they
Human,
don't
no,
review.
no, no. We're usually in an uproar in game deciding situations. Stuff that is subjected to human error, even when it's missed, it's par for the course. It happens. I saw in baseball an umpire call a guy out and ruined a perfect game. I forgot the name of the pitcher that was pitching in Detroit. You know, that umpire was crying. That official was crying after the game because he realized how wrong he was. Something like that is incredibly egregious. But at the end of the day, even though that shouldn't have happened, when you look at an NBA game, if something takes place in the first or the second quarter for something for crying out loud, stuff happens. You're going to make calls, you're going to miss
But
calls.
Stephen, my point is,
Everything.
what are they reviewing in those situations? They're reviewing, generally speaking, early
okay.
in the game, hostile.
All right, well, let me
There's
ask
no
you.
way around it.
Time out. Let me ask
There's
you
no
a
way around
question.
it.
Let me ask you a question. How many times have you found yourself in a situation where a play was reviewed and we still saw the referees get it wrong? It was reviewed, and they still got it wrong. They still got it wrong.
Game 5, 2014.
Okay.
Western Conference semifinals. Reggie Jackson tipped the ball out of bounds. We saw it on tape. Tony Brothers elected to give OKC the ball back.
Okay.
I'll stand by that.
All right, that's
I'll
fine.
stand by that.
But I'm just
and we lost the game.
I appreciate the
And we lost the game.
Somebody's still bitter. Somebody's still bitter.
It was right
I mean,
there.
nothing.
Hey, he didn't have to go far to recall
him to recall that. Exactly.
This was last night in the
Crystal
hotel.
clear.
That's right.
No, listen.
That's hilarious.
So
Right off the top. Right off the
It's
top.
just like
No
the other day we
preparation.
asked Jalen Rose about some issue that he had with a player one time, and he right away said, Ken Conley.
That's right.
He dropped it as well. Ken Conley.
Exactly.
No one even heard of this dude, but Jalen remembers that. dude.
Jalen remembers.
So
Yeah.
here's where I'm on both of these things. First of all, I agree for me, that should not have been a tech. It looked bad live because it happened so fast and it looked violent. Then I saw the replay and I'm like, wait a second, man. His left hand was up because he's kind of shielding himself from the defender. That left arm has to come down at some point.
That's right.
Came down across his nose. And the other thing is, I said, Al Horford is either the smartest guy in the world or he genuinely didn't mean anything by that because he never even looked at Giannis.
Exactly.
He did it and he kept looking this way, celebrating, but he never did. If he did this, maybe a different story. He didn't do that. So I think that's where I fall on that particular call. As far as, I texted somebody during the game last night, a group chat. I'm like, man, how about the good old days when dudes just try to stay on their feet and guard a guy?
That's right.
Everything is just constantly baiting an official. Make a call, make a call, make a call. Any contact, boom, I'm on my back. Make a call. That, to me, is what's disrupting the flow of the game more than anything. I like the review in terms of getting things right, but all of these plays where guys, they're not thinking about guarding a guy through the possession, getting a hand up contest. It's how can I try to find a way to bait an official to put him in a tough spot to make a call right now. So many plays, guys are on their back. It's nonstop throughout the game. That's what frustrates me watching the game.
So there's a couple things to this. So on the review part, which you guys, I hear your complaints. There's a challenge every game. And like last night on Jaylen Brown's fifth foul, Milwaukee used it because they called the initial play on Drew Holiday a block, and they used the challenge. So they're going to review that. So are you saying there shouldn't be challenges? Just to be clear.
I'm okay with the challenge. I think it's had a very minimal effect on the game. Truthfully,
Yeah.
I don't think it's really affected the game.
I agree with that, but the smart coaches that hang onto it for plays like that where it's an important foul, end the game, I think there's value.
I'll say this real
value
quick about the challenge. I saw it again last night. Draymond Green took one. I mean, as soon as he hit the ground, he's going like this to Mike Brown. And I'm saying to myself, I'm a coach. You know what I'm telling my team?
Yeah.
Do not do this. You better be right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You better, because now that one was a kind of hit, miss, bang, bang, block charge. It really could have gone either way. But there are plays that's so obvious. It's so obvious you fouled a guy. And you're doing this, and especially if it's a star, the coach feels all the pressure to appease that guy. You're asking for this? All right, we're going to do it. And then you go to the replay, we're like, why would you ask me to challenge
But
that?
let me go back to the original point that JJ and I were debating about. Human error is a part of life, just like it's a part of sports. You're trying to tell me somebody is going to fret over missed calls that took place in the first and the second quarter or something like that? I'm talking about when you talk about the last 3 minutes of a game, the last 5 minutes of a game, talk about a game being on the line, that's an entirely different matter. But before that, over the course of a game, you got plenty of opportunities to make up for any mistakes or any errors that may have taken place. We see every single play. Tell me what play that you see when a foul is called and a player ain't complaining, or a player doesn't feel screwed over, or a player doesn't feel that the officials got something wrong. We see coaches arguing with referees every single play. We see players arguing with referees every single play. It happens. To sit up there and act like every single damn play has to be reviewed is ridiculous. It has to stop. It disrupts the rhythm and the flow of actually enjoying watching the game. You trying to tell me, Jay, that you don't sit there, Tim Legler, you don't sit up there at times, and we're watching the game, and it's like, damn, I ordered dinner, I'm waiting for it. I mean, they reviewing this play. I mean, it take this damn long to decide what the right play is? Come on, y'all. Come on.
Stephen A., again, you're talking about something, being able to review plays late in the game and not being able to do it earlier. But any play that they actually review earlier in the game has an impact on late game, i.e. a hostile act, i.e. a block charge foul, whatever it may be that could impact a player's availability for the rest of the game. Say a star player gets his second foul, next possession down, tries to take a charge. There's a review on that. That's his third foul. He could be out the rest of the first half. Those are the plays. They're not reviewing whether or not the ball goes off.
Okay, so JJ, you're not bothered by it.
I'm not bothered by it.
I'm not denying that it has an impact. I'm saying, so what? Okay. Live with it.
No, I agree with him to the extent that's really what they're looking at earlier in the game is the stuff he's talking about, right? It's not like it's every play they're doing that. My bigger issue than the reviews is the constant acting job
with the players
that defenders are doing. That to me,
they didn't act in the 90s.
No, they
right?
did.
They didn't act in the 90s.
You didn't have dudes on their back. You didn't have dudes on their back to the extent. Last night there were 4 guys on the floor in one play.
No, I understand. It's a bit extreme at times. But I mean, my God. I mean, listen, Shaq with Vlade Divac, Reggie Miller, and so many others. Come on now. There's a whole bunch of dudes that were planning on going to Hollywood long before they left the NBA. I mean, with some of the acting jobs that they put forth. That is absolutely true.
If you genuinely think that watching in a game today is the same in terms of dudes trying to take charges, bait a ref into thinking they just took a charge. But there is no comparison between now and
I'm not denying that. What I'm saying to you is that there was a lot of acting going on before. The difference between then and now is this. The NBA has gotten to, I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about the league office in terms of their heavy hammer that they bring down because they don't want style of play disrupted. You want more offense. You want less physicality. So the game is called tighter. And as a result, to alleviate some of those things. And as a result, we find ourselves looking at it, and it's like, wait a minute now. What the hell are you going to do next? Human error is a part of it, fellas.
Okay.
Just take it.
Agree to disagree. We all have different gripes here, except for JJ. He likes the way it is.
Yeah, but he remembered 2014.
His walk back and forth to school wasn't so long.
Remember that?
Real quick, the recollection. All right, let's keep it rolling here, guys, because we have 2 Game 5. Brady is joining the network as their lead NFL analyst when his playing career is over. Stephen A., are you surprised that Tommy Brady wants to get in the booth?
No, not at all. I mean, you stay around football. He's going to make about $20 million, knowing him. And he doesn't have to get hit in order to make that money. You know, I'm happy for him. He deserves it. But forgive me if I don't care that much. I'm interested in seeing him play this year, trying to win another Super Bowl, and call me when he's in the booth.
I think he's a brilliant mind. I think he'll be phenomenal.
I think he's absolutely going to be great. He deserves it. I'm happy for him. But I'm interested in seeing him play. I can give a damn about him in the booth right now.
Okay, fair enough. All right, to the NBA, we saw vintage James Harden in Game 4 putting up 31, 7, and 9 as Philly took both games at home with the turn of Joel Embiid and knotted up the series as it shifts back to Miami. Now that Embiid is back, we saw Harden show up. We're going to bring in Marcus Spears first for this conversation. Hi, Marcus. You got us?
What's up? What's up, Molly Q? I'm still laughing from Stephen A. personally not giving a damn about Tom Brady.
I care about Tom Brady.
Can I say this? Can I say this? And JJ, because I know how nice you could be. Marcus, JJ could be a nice guy. JJ, don't let JJ fool you. He's a nice guy. Here's the deal. All right,
JJ's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Not like so nice though.
I'll ask you both. Listen, we wish Tom Brady nothing but the best. We think he's going to do a great job. Any penny that he's making is well earned. We get all of that. Do we really give a damn right now what he's got for the season? I'm asking y'all a question. I mean, I understand when if he's retired and he was in the booth, that would be different.
Okay.
With him about to play, do you really care?
All right. I wanted to
I'm
give
very
the news.
curious as to
Stephen A., you're so biased. You're so biased.
You said 20. I bet it's more.
Way more.
I bet it's way more.
Way more.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 30. It's 30 to 40.
Okay. And guess what?
You're so biased, though, man.
He
You're
deserves
so biased,
it.
Because if
he deserves it.
If they
I
made
just
an
don't care until he
announcement
gets
that
there.
Michael Jordan, if they made an announcement while MJ was playing in the league that he was going to work on the TNT team, you'll have 30 minutes on the damn show about it. Okay?
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that before we move on?
That's why.
May I respond to that before we move
ahead.
on? Ask Michael Jordan, what would I say? And he'll tell you, Stephen, they don't give a damn.
Okay.
Stephen, they don't give a damn because he ain't playing no more. You just said, I mean, I don't give a damn until he's actually doing it. When he's doing it, I'm watching. I want to see.
Okay.
Is he going to be as good as Tony Romo, whatever? But until then, he got a season to play in Tampa Bay. I'll see you when you get there.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
He'll be phenomenal in
deal.
Tampa Bay,
When it happens.
and he'll be phenomenal in the booth, right? All the man knows is greatness. But let's move on here.
Sorry, JJ. Sorry you got to go through this.
I know.
My apologies.
Constant distractions with Steven.
Yeah.
Constant distractions.
You are all over the place always. It's like trying to reel you back in
Did I
constantly.
do that? Did I do that?
Okay.
All right.
JJ, do you believe, JJ, can I get your attention now?
Sorry.
Thank you. We are in the playoffs. We got a game 5 tonight, tied up at 2-2. Do you believe the Sixers can win this series?
Oh, the Sixers can win this series. And I said yesterday, I'm not going to flip-flop again. I said yesterday, I think they will win this series. The Harden thing is great, and it's great to see him score over 30 points. It's great to see him hit 4 step-back threes. The reality is that's not who he is right now, night to night. He's a facilitator, a playmaker, and a darn good one, too. Like, he is still a really good basketball player. But when I think about the 76ers and sort of where I viewed them prior to the playoffs to where I view them now, 2 things have happened. Number one, we're 10 games into this run. Tyrese Maxey's averaging 22 on 50, 40, 90. And that has shifted Tobias Harris basically into the 4th option, where he's shooting over 50% from the field and averaging 18 and 8. The last 2 years in Philly, Tobias has been the 2nd option. I'm not sure you're a championship team with Tobias as your 2nd option. If he's your 4th option and Tyrese Maxey's your 3rd and Harden's your 2nd and Bean's, you've got a much better team. And I think they right now, and this pains me to say it. I don't even know if I can verbalize it. But right now, I think they're a better team than the Miami Heat. So I think they win this series. But ultimately the Celtics will beat them in the next round.
I think that Jimmy Butler just heard you say that. And Jimmy Butler's going to get you for that. You're a former teammate. He's going to get you for that. You know that.
Yes,
Jimmy Butler, you're going to hear from that brother because that's just false. He's not going to believe that, and I don't blame him for not believing that because one game does not a series make. We saw James Harden. It was great to see him do what he did because now we know he can still do that. And that was what our concern was. We was like, wait a minute, he ain't been the same since the hamstring injury. As a result, he seems to have lost a step, struggling to gain separation. The contested shots ain't falling the way that he used to. James Harden ain't what he used to be. And then he pulled back the clock and showed you in game 4, I am that dude still. So let's see if he's going to do that in game 5 tonight. Game 6, and if there is a game 7.
My point, though, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.
He has to.
No, he
has
does
to.
not.
He has to.
No, he does not.
He doesn't have to. I didn't say he has to score 30, but he has to be. He has to be the dude that's that threat that can make those shots in those crunch time moments. Yes, he does have to do that.
Let me get Marcus in here, and I want to move this conversation forward. Marcus, do you think the Sixers can now win the East?
Yeah, with James Harden being in this plus like he has the last 2 games. Listen, I don't look at the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks, especially without Middleton with Milwaukee, and say that this is unequivocally better than the Philadelphia 76ers with James Harden playing at a very high level. The playoffs, and JJ knows this, Stephen A knows this, the playoffs is about the others most of the time. But when the star cachet has to show up, it has to show up like James Harden did this last outing against the Miami Heat. Ultimately, though, and I've heard you guys talk about it, James is not the same guy. He doesn't have the blow-by ability. And that may be true, but we can get explosions from James Harden. We can get, if James Harden knocks down 3 or 4 3-pointers per game, the confidence that he's going to take into this next one is going to, it matters what he did in the previous game. I look at, before the season started, it was the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers, where everybody thought. Now, people talked about the Lakers being old. Then it ultimately shifted to the Phoenix Suns versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Now Stephen A is concerned about Golden State, but that's been his team all along, based on what they've been able to do in the playoffs, especially getting a win last night with that poor shooting. But when I look at Philly and I think about the depth of the five, right? And JJ just went through it. If Tyrese Maxey continues to play at a very high level and you get James Harden vintage output, potentially not throughout the entire course of a game, but to your point, Stephen A., that you just made, critical moments, big time buckets, and I think Joel Embiid cancels out anyone that is on another team in the East. I truly believe if it's Giannis with Milwaukee, Joel can put up 35 if Giannis put up 40. If you're coming out with the Boston Celtics, Al Horford is not going to take care of Joel Embiid. So it's going to be about James Harden and his output. And if he can continue to build on what he did just now, they have a shot at winning the East.
Well, listen, first of all, if I had your glasses on, I'd look as good as JJ. I mean, the fact of the matter is you got a whole bunch of ifs all over the damn place, okay? But it ain't nothing definitive.
I done watched y'all for the last 2 months.
Excuse me, I'm talking now. Sit back. You ain't intimidating me. You ain't here in Vegas with me. You in another city. I ain't got to worry about you, brother. Here's the deal, okay? Here's the deal. The bottom line is when you look at James Harden, we saw him show up in Game 4. Prior to Game 4, the brother, first of all, he didn't even attempt 20 shots in Game 4. He hadn't attempted 20 shots in the game since he arrived in Philadelphia. He hadn't had 25 points in the game for the previous 13, 14 games. Yeah. So what we saw in Game 4 was an aberration based on what we've seen from him lately. Now, if he can do those things, I get what you're saying. I'm betting that he won't. I'm betting that Miami won't let him. I'm betting that Miami is going to roll down in South Beach and they're going to be ready for them tonight. And I got peeps in Philadelphia.
He just want to go to Miami.
So you know I'm going to hear a whole bunch. JJ Redick knows I'm going to hear a whole bunch of people's mouths if Philadelphia ends up winning this series. Because how dare me have the audacity, the unmitigated goal to pick against them. But I'm doing it anyway. In 7, Miami will win the night.
I'm not.
Philly will win Game 6. And Miami will go back and close the deal in a Game 7 back down there in South Beach. Because you know, to me, anything in Miami is South Beach. You know that. And it's just that simple. You see, ain't no ifs. I'm just telling you what it is.
Man, let JJ say something.
Go ahead.
I just have one thing to say. Just an observation. But your thirst for warm weather or whatever you call it.
It is warm weather. It is warm weather.
Thirst trap?
It's
Ever heard that term?
It's the warm weather. It's going to warm weather.
It's the warm weather.
It's just the warm weather. It's just the warm weather. Nothing else.
You have problems.
Nothing else.
You have problems.
Nothing else. Nothing else.
I just wanted to give it a moment.
But to answer your question, Molecule, the Sixers can win the East if James Harden has if he builds upon what he just did. They have just as good a shot as any other team I've watched throughout these playoffs in the East.
Fair enough. We're up against it. I didn't ask you that exact question, though. Do you think they could win the East, Philly? I know you said this series.
They can.
Oh, here we go. You know who
won't.
you're starting to remind me of? I'm not even going to say
They
it, but
won't.
Stephen A. knows. Coming up, James Harden and Joel Embiid have the Sixers rolling. But will the Heat? The Warriors stave off the L after trailing the entire game until the last 45 seconds. Thanks to Steph Curry getting hot in the fourth. He scored 18 of the Dubs' 39 fourth quarter points, including the go-ahead free throw. 45 seconds left to take their first lead of the game. The Dubs won, but almost lost, Stephen A., to the jawless Grizzlies. So tell me this, sir. Are you concerned about your Warriors championship pick? Are you concerned?
Well, I'm concerned. But I ain't jumping off the bandwagon. I'm still rolling with the Warriors. All I'm going to say to you is this. Last night, I'm not going to front Swagoo, JJ. Last night made me nervous. Last night made me very, very nervous. Because I have an imagination. You know, I mean, that's something that you're allowed to have when you work for Disney. I mean, Walt Disney is Mickey Mouse, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're allowed to have an imagination, right? And so I'm watching the game before. And I'm watching these piranhas in Boston, how they play defense. And then I'm looking at Memphis and the problems that they cause in Golden State. The game before, they hitting shots all over the place, and I understand that. But last night, the way that the Warriors were struggling, it very much alarmed me. I was like this ain't gonna get it done. They can't play like this and win the chip. They can now. You would say they ain't gonna win the West, so I understand, JJ. You feel a little bit differently. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, they win in the West. That's what I believe. I ain't jumping off that ship. Okay. The one team that really, really has me concerned right now is them damn Boston Celtics. Because I believe Boston Celtics and that matchup against Golden State, that's a tough damn matchup for Golden State. I'm here to tell you. Because you got guards and you got athletes and you got dudes that are relatively big. I mean, you got Marcus Smart, who's a pit bull, but you got height on Jaylen Brown. You got height on Jason Tatum, stuff like that. And you got cats that can move their feet, get out, defend on the perimeter, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Golden State still got their marksmen, their snipers, and I get all of that, which is something that you can relate to, JJ. I'm just saying that it gave me cause for pause just for a moment. I was a little bit nervous, so I figure that, you know what, I could be honest with my boys. You know, I could be honest with my boys and just say, I'm a little nervous. I'm better now. But last night, I was a little bit nervous.
It's already happening.
It's sort of like Swagoo when he FaceTiming me, JJ, talking junk. And then he turned around the next morning, and then he like, you know what? I'm okay now. You know, that was my moment. But I'm back now. I'm okay.
Stephen A., I got to say, I'm actually shocked to hear you start to backpedal on this.
I'm not backpedaling.
No.
Yeah.
You're creating these little seeds of doubt
he's
here.
covering his
And
tail.
what's wild
Next
to
thing
me
he'll say
about
it's
this,
fluid.
this is what's wild to me about this.
that.
You've been saying this since October, early November. We didn't know if Klay Thompson was going to be able to play at a high level. We witnessed Steph have a 6-week shooting slump that we've never seen him have before.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Draymond has a back injury. We don't know if he's coming back.
Right.
And not once did you back off the fact that you were picking the Warriors to win it all. Now, all of a sudden, they have one okay game in which they win against a tough Memphis team, and you want to start backpedaling. Wow. This is a classic example of Stephen A. Smith being a prisoner of the moment.
Thank you, JJ Redick. Thank you, JJ Redick.
JJ's been watching me. I mean, I got to be. Okay.
And JJ, I've been around him long enough. Let me tell you what else he's doing. He just preparing for the excuse if it happened. That's all he doing. He preparing for the excuse. What? And then when you back him into a corner, he come out screaming and he want to fight and bring up all your flaws. Get ready for it. Because the things that you messed up, if he don't get this right, he's going to bring all of those up and give you like a minute and a half to defend yourself. But here's the thing, and this is why my big bro is the best in the business, because he is already 5 weeks ahead of his next excuse. He ahead of it, JJ. Yeah. Get used to it. See, you've been around and you done got him. You done got him and you starting to understand. But get used to it. This ain't about next week, JJ. It ain't about the next game. It's about a month from now when he gonna run this back. They probably gonna have a damn flashback on the show today based on something that he said. But they gonna run this back and he gonna come on television if the Warriors don't win and say, I told y'all I was concerned. I told y'all all of these things going on. It's coming. It is coming.
No, that's not true.
You better win this. Please help this man.
Well, first of all, JJ ain't in no position to talk. He just switched his pick yesterday, okay, from Miami to Philadelphia. So he's in no position. He's in no position whatsoever. You told him I would bring it back. Well, I got evidence from yesterday. He's in no position to come in. He just messed up yesterday. So he's out of the mix right now. I get where you coming from, but it ain't like I'm picking the Warriors to lose, because I'm not picking them to lose. I'm not going to jump off that ship. I'm on TV every day on numerous occasions. I'm going with the Warriors. All I'm trying to do is be honest with the American public, because it's important that the American people understand. It's important that the American people understand that you have an honest lad. You have an honest lad here. You have somebody that is willing to stand before the American people and say, excuse me, this is what was on my mind at that particular moment in time.
Yeah,
what's not wrong with honesty, JJ?
You know how else he likes to,
In all seriousness, Stephen A., you're also not wrong on this take, by the way. You should be concerned about a potential matchup with the Boston Celtics, because their defense is so good, they can do it against size, but they inherently switch a lot of actions. And what historically has given the Warriors trouble is teams that already do that. The best team they ever played against in that run was actually in the Western Conference, and that was the Houston Rockets, because they built their defense around switching just to beat the Warriors in the playoffs. Now, ultimately, the Warriors were too good for that team. Of course,
Chris Paul got hurt.
Chris Paul got hurt.
Right.
But
they would have won
18.
anyway.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So the Celtics, to me, as even more so than the Bucks or potentially the Sixers or the Heat, like the Celtics to me are the one team that is a tough matchup for the Warriors.
Okay, fair enough. You know what's another diversion tactic by Stephen A? It's discussing the Dallas Cowboys, and that's where I'm told we should go right now.
Oh, God.
Oh, how about this tweet from one of Stephen A's favorite spots? Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson tweeting this. The answer is Dallas. Why? We're about to pass Chicago Metro and become number 3 metro in the U.S., which would make us the largest U.S. metro without 2 teams. Football is king here. Dallas needs an expansion team, and we would be able to sustain 2 NFL teams better than LA or New York. Stephen A. Do the Dallas fans deserve a second team?
Couple of things. Is that mayor an African American? I couldn't see. Is that mayor an African American? Because I'm an advocate of African Americans being in such positions, a mayoral position, a gubernatorial position, obviously the presidency. I mean, I appreciate these things. But the reason I'm asking that question, Swagoo, is I want that man removed from office right now. And I want to make sure the world understands that Mayor Eric Johnson should be removed from office immediately. And if I'm Jerry Jones, I want him out. I want him gone. What blasphemy? Blasphemy. And this is coming from me, of all people. Of all people. Listen, how do you justify saying something so nonsensical? The Dallas Cowboys, and I can't believe I got to find myself in a position where I'm saying this stuff. This is the number one brand. This is the number one brand in all of sports. I would say number 2 to the Yankees,
What's the
but
other thing they
baseball
call
ain't as
them?
popular.
What's the other thing they call them?
America's team, I know that.
What's the other thing they call it?
We know they don't.
Thank you.
But we know they don't deserve
Appreciate
that.
it.
We know they don't
All right.
deserve that. America is not about mediocrity. America is about greatness, not about mediocrity. But that's a different subject for another day. But in all seriousness, the brand that is the Yankees would be worth more if baseball was as popular as the NFL. Clearly, it is not. So considering the popularity of the NFL, combined with the fact that this is the number one brand, and you're talking about the stars on the helmets, the cheerleaders, the billion-dollar playpen, and Jerry Jones is the owner, for the local mayor in the city of Dallas to advocate for another football team. I mean, this man, they should have a petition to get him removed from office immediately. He shouldn't get another vote. This is his only term. This is the only term in his office. He won't recover from this, Marcus. Swagoo, he won't recover from this. You can't say something like that. Even I know that. You can't do that. Listen, I'm a native New Yorker. I ain't, as much as I love no state income taxes, because I've thought about Texas. I'm an Austin, Texas fan, by the way. Austin, Texas is my favorite city. Personally.
Great place.
But I love Dallas too. But I love Dallas too, in terms of the city, a metropolis. But the fans I can't stand. But my God, I'm just sitting there like, how does the mayor of Dallas? I wouldn't even advocate for a spring football team to be in Dallas, let alone another NFL team. That man should be ashamed. And I'm making a prediction right here, Swagoo. This is stronger than my Warriors prediction. This is his last term in office. He won't recover from this. This is his last term in office. Go ahead, Swagoo. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
First of all, I love when we can agree on something, because you are absolutely. I'm surprised that they didn't ask for his letter of resignation this morning,
right?
Based on what he just tweeted out. The second thing is, so I'm old school, Stephen A. I got an old soul to wisdom. I used to sit with my granddaddy on the sofa and watch westerns. That's what we used to call them. We watched westerns. And the westerns sum up this the best way. I heard it in all of the westerns that I watches. This town ain't big enough for the 2 of us, son. That's all this boiled down to.
Amen.
And I get it. Like Eric Johnson, it's on First Take. People talking about it. But you know damn well, everybody in the world know. Everybody, especially in Dallas, Texas, know that Jerry Jones is going to make a decision about anything involving football.
Hold
you
on,
can
time
tweet,
out,
text,
Marcus.
put a legislature together, anything. It ain't happening.
It ain't happening.
Hold on.
It
There
ain't
was
happening.
a second part of this tweet that I want to bring up to you guys. We need an AFC team that plays in southern Dallas. We would never want for a fan base or attendance or support from the city of Dallas who wouldn't want to see a Dallas versus Dallas Super Bowl in the city of Dallas.
That is ignorant. That man will not will not get another term in office.
He will not get another term.
He will not get. This is it. This is it. This is it right now. I'm telling you right now. Jerry Jones is already. You know this, Swagoo. Jerry Jones, Molly, is already behind the scenes. This is Jerry Jones right now.
Oh.
Good afternoon, everybody. I mean,
Good afternoon.
I can't believe the ridiculousness that this man just sat up there and tried to propose. I want this man gone. Now, how long is it going to take to get rid of him? That's
How
what
long
I
is it
need
gonna
right
take?
now. And guess what? They're going to go like this. Yes, sir, Mr. Jones. Yes, sir. We'll get right on it. That brother is done.
That economy.
It's an ignorant thing to do. It's an ignorant suggestion.
Stephen A. SA, to your point. All right, to your point, man. I'm glad we got the mayor tweeting, so we got some politics. Does Eric Johnson know how much money the Dallas Cowboys generate for the city of Dallas?
Unbelievable.
Does he have any idea?
Clearly not.
The ramifications of saying bring another team to Dallas. And listen, I know we joking, but there was I was there when we built the new stadium. I was with the Cowboys.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a big issue with the stadium being in Arlington as opposed to downtown Dallas, close to the Mavs and all of that, right? The fact that he's hinting back at that, based on what has transpired, it gets to probably a little bit more serious than he imagined it should be.
Listen. Let me tell you how Mayor Eric Johnson, that's his name, Eric Johnson. Let me tell you how he's going to look in the weeks and the months to come. Play my video, y'all. Play my video. Show them what I'm talking about. This is Mayor Eric Johnson. This is how he going to look right now. Mr. Eric Johnson, in a short while. You ain't gonna be mayor much longer. That might be one of the dumbest things that a political candidate, that a politician has ever done. I mean, in Dallas, Texas,
There's a lot of football fans
you're proposing another team for. Do you know where people? Molly, do you know where people travel from to come and see the Cowboys?
Molly, you don't have to play
can't do
devil's
it.
advocate, Molly. You know it's a bad idea, Molly. You don't
It's
have
horrible.
We can all agree on this
He
show.
said that Texas could support it more so than LA or New York, and I kind of
It doesn't
agree
matter.
with him on that.
You don't mess with the Cowboy brand in Dallas, Texas.
You're going to put two football teams
dumb.
in Dallas, Texas.
All right.
No.
Outruled.
No.
Marcus Spears.
And by the way, Molly,
Great to see you.
Swaggo and Molly, understand that if you had another team, that means you'd probably need a stadium. You definitely need a stadium to play. You might go to Jerry to try to use the stadium. It would mean more money for Jerry, and he still wouldn't do it. He still wouldn't do it. I mean, this is just dumb. Just dumb. Eric Johnson, enjoy that mayor title for now. This brother gonna look. He will not serve another term as mayor in Dallas. You heard that prediction, Swagoo? He will not serve another term in Dallas. Not out
He out of there.
He's just proud of their growing population that they're passing Chicago.
He made a mistake.
All right, coming up, James Harden and Joel Embiid have the Sixers rolling. Will the Heat cool off Philly as the series shifts back to South Beach? Receiving 81 of the 100 first-place votes. Stephen A., should the Suns coach have taken home the award?
With ease. And that's no disrespect to Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think done a fantastic job. But Monty Williams, from start to finish, has had these boys as the best team in basketball. 64-18 record, models of consistency, professionalism, coming in, stepping up, handling their business. And he's a leader in every sense of the word. He inspires on every level. He definitely deserves this award. I have a vote. He got my vote easily.
And he's high character.
You could make an argument, too, that he probably should have back-to-back Coach of the Years. What he did last year was amazing.
Last year.
What he did last year was an amazing coaching job. So a couple of things to note here. They had these multiple 15-plus game winning streaks. They missed Ayton for long stretches. They missed, obviously, CP with the broken hand
Yes.
for stretches. Devin Booker had a hamstring issue.
Yep.
He had a COVID issue. They just found ways to continue to win. Just a complete basketball team. And I was around Monty Williams for a year, my last season in Philadelphia. He was our associate head coach. And I can say he was one of the most attention-detailed guys that I was around. Great human being, great coach. You ask anybody that's played for Monty, he cares about the players.
Right.
Yeah.
Genuine care for the players. Just an incredible
You could tell
human
after
being.
the Chris Paul
and-
situation with
yes,
his family,
yeah.
how
Without
he
question,
handled
without
that.
question. We know what Monty Williams has endured. But I want to take a moment, as somebody who's been a strong advocate for African-American coaches throughout my career, I want to take a moment to give props to somebody who's not African-American. That would happen to be Taylor Jenkins. I mean, this man has done a phenomenal job at Memphis. He deserved consideration. There is no shade thrown on him, and a great, great job he has done whatsoever. But when you talk about what Monty Williams has done and the model of consistency this franchise has been since he arrived, it has continued to climb and climb and climb. And nobody, as far as I'm concerned, deserved Coach of the Year's honors more than him. He got my vote, and he well deserved.
Let's leave it there, because I heard JJ wants to talk about the Lakers. And ask and you shall receive. That's what they told me. The playoffs are better when LeBron and the Lakers are in it. So who should the franchise target as their next head coach? Also want to discuss this. Shaq remains one of the most difficult players to ever guard against, but Rudy Gobert thinks he would have been the right man for the J.O.B. We're reacting to that little smack talk after this quick break. Along with former Blazers coach Terry Stotts. JJ, who do the Lakers need to hire to vault themselves back into contention?
That's a good joke. It's a good question. If you're joking around, contention?
Yeah,
The Lakers are not contending next season. That's not going to happen. And we broke down all the different trade scenarios last week. They're not going to be a contender. They're pretty much stuck next year.
Even with the big three.
So I think they should figure out a way to hire Steph Curry as a player coach, maybe Paul George. Just fill out a coaching staff with current players. That's the only way they're going to get back to contention. There's no way this core group, those three guys, with their lack of draft picks, with no real money in free agency, they're not in contention next year. It doesn't matter who the coach is.
Let me say this, and I'm going to be very serious when I'm saying this, okay? We've talked about the Lakers a lot. People have lamented mom and pop shop operation, all of this other stuff. I'm done with all of that. I got love for Jeannie Buss. She can trust whoever she wants to trust, whether that's Kurt Rambis, Linda Rambis, or whatever the case may be, so be it. Rob Pelinka, there's a few agents that have gotten jobs as a GM and are in position to make those basketball decisions. It's on him now, okay? What I would tell you that the Lakers need, they need an offensive-minded as opposed to a defensive-minded coach, because Frank Vogel was more defense than offense. They need an offensive-minded coach. But more importantly than that, they need a strong-willed coach that sits up there and is capable of telling the organization, you run the organization, I coach. You cannot have a situation where the coach feels disempowered, where he has to play certain dudes because he's going to hear from management. He has to make sure dudes get their minutes. He's going to hear from management, or he's reticent about, benching a dude when he knows that dude doesn't deserve to be playing, et cetera, et cetera. You have to have the kind of coach that's capable of getting in the face of players and saying, look, you ain't getting it done. I will remind you, the story is old. Ty Lue is in the finals coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James is balling. And who does Ty Lue call out, according to reports, at halftime in the locker room? LeBron James. LeBron James having a pretty damn good half. If you look at the numbers, he said, you ain't doing enough. We need more. If you don't do it, we ain't going to win the championship. You got to have somebody that's capable of doing that. You got to have somebody that's like a Pat Riley that's able to look at a Charles Smith in the 90s when Charles Smith walks into the locker room with his clothes on, according to the book, Blood in the Garden. And Pat Riley asked him, if we needed you for 5 minutes, could you, with everything on the line, could you give it to us? Charles said, sure. He said, then what the F are you doing with your clothes on instead of your uniform? You got to have a coach that can have that kind of attitude and can disseminate that kind of message to the players. We got to stop.
And where's it going to get them?
Listen, me personally, I think Mark Jackson could be that guy.
No. I'm saying, where is it going to get them? So say they get the great coach that you want, because JJ says it doesn't matter.
To me, if Anthony Davis is healthy alone, and that's a big ask. But if Anthony Davis is healthy with the LeBron James that we saw this past season, I think you get to the playoffs. And then once you're in the playoffs with a LeBron James, anything can happen. Am I thinking they're going to win the championship? Hell no. But what I'm saying
Stephen,
is,
you said that for 6 months. And if there's any lesson to learn from
Well,
this
he hasn't been-
season,
he hasn't been healthy.
it's that top-heavy rosters just don't work in today's NBA.
I agree with
they
that.
They don't work.
Time out.
The Nets didn't work.
The
Lakers didn't work.
I agree with that when you're talking championship, not when you're talking about getting to the playoffs. It's a damn shame.
The question was contention.
Well, again,
contention.
to me, I'm thinking about a LeBron James in the playoffs. Anything is possible if an Anthony Davis is healthy. What's the difference between Anthony Davis and LeBron James in my estimation? One dude gets ready, another dude stays ready.
Yeah.
LeBron James is always ready. He's in shape now. Whereas Anthony Davis may or may not be. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's about having a strong enough coach to hold dudes accountable so you can maximize what's around them and the drama is minimized because you're not allowed to run amok and just think the way you want to think, feel what you want to feel, and do what you want to do. You got clear delineation. You got management doing their job, and then once the coach has the team, this is my team, move the hell out the way and let me do what I do. They have to have that structure.
Last word.
I'm not disagreeing that they need structure, but I don't think them running amok, as you said, had anything with them being a bad basketball team last year. It was a bad roster.
I disagree with
Stephen
that.
A.
I'm not saying it wasn't a bad roster.
Stephen
I agree with that.
Outside of those three, Taylor Horton Tucker was really bad this year. Okay, Malik Monk was the only young player that played well. Their entire roster outside of Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James, who admittedly are a bad fit together, was a bunch of guys that haven't been good since 2016. Okay? So it's not about running amok. It's not about having a defensive coach or an offensive coach. They had a top 5 defense with Frank Vogel. They won a championship.
Forgive me for taking an extra minute. Let me remind you.
It's a bad roster.
Let me remind you of
with nowhere to go.
Let me remind you of who you're talking to. You are talking to a guy that covered Allen Iverson, and they had a bunch of parts around him.
It's a different NBA.
Let me finish. I understand that, but listen to where I'm going. My point is, I'm spoiled by that reality in this one respect. You had people around him that did their jobs and were mindful of what they couldn't do because Larry Brown wouldn't allow anything else. You knew what the hell your job was, and you did your job. What LeBron James was surrounded by last year wasn't an absence of talent. There's a whole bunch of people that weren't doing their damn jobs. And for a variety of reasons. And you got to take that into consideration. And if you have that, you never know what you can do because we've seen LeBron James do more with less. We've seen it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not thinking they're going to win a championship, but they ain't supposed to be at home watching the playoffs. Hell no. Even with that roster, they were not supposed to be home watching a playoff. 16 games under 500? Come on, JJ. That's not about the talent. That's about something more. And that's why Terry Stotts, with all due respect, cannot be the man for that job. Terry Stotts is a good man. He knows basketball, but he ain't got the personality to do the kind of things that I suggest he does. He cannot be the Lakers' next head coach. Not him. He could go somewhere else, not Los Angeles Lakers.
Speaking of the Lakers, can I transition, fellas? So Shaq made some news on his podcast, The Big Podcast with Shaq, going at 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. Here's what he said. Take a listen.
What's going on is what I told y'all 3 years ago. Donovan ain't that good, and the Utah Jazz ain't that good. Let's just say it. You want to be good or you want to be great? Whichever one you want, let me know. But, Rudy's a great player, fine defensive player, but he offers nothing on the offensive end. Like, he has no post moves,
I think Rudy Gobert can hold you to like 12 points.
Yeah, in the first 3 minutes.
That was Shaq's thoughts on Rudy Gobert. Gobert responded with, I would lock his behind up. JJ, would Rudy Gobert hold up against Shaq?
I actually don't think that Rudy Gobert believes that tweet that he put out. There's no way that he believes that tweet. Look, Shaq, for about 9 years, his first 9 years of his career, he played with illegal defense, so no 2.9, and he played with no zone. What that allowed him to do was he's either getting doubled or he's playing in isolation with no help. And so, you saw this over and over again in his career. When you played him one-on-one, There was no answer for him. And look, Rudy Gobert is a great player. He's a fantastic player, but he would have zero chance against Shaq. Zero chance. You know this.
If Rudy Gobert was guarding Shaquille O'Neal one-on-one, they would have to go state to state and build state penitentiaries large enough to hold somebody like Shaq, because Shaq would be arrested for what he'd do to Rudy Gobert. It would be no match. He would destroy Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert knows this. Shaq went like 10 straight years, averaging a minimum of 26 and 10. Okay? Shaq is the most dominant force of the modern era. More dominant than Giannis is, more dominant than anybody other than maybe Wilt Chamberlain, and that's a maybe in some people's eyes. Not mine. Wilt is Wilt. Shaq was that dominant. He was a force. He was agile. He was big. You talk about 7 feet, 7'1", 320 pounds minimum. He would have tossed Rudy Gobert around like a rag doll. First of all, Rudy Gobert wouldn't have been in the game long enough to go against him because he would have fouled out. Would have fouled out in about 5 minutes. He would have had no match. And I'm telling you right now, you could literally have law enforcement officials come and arrest Shaquille O'Neal for what Shaquille O'Neal would do to Rudy Gobert on a basketball court if Rudy Gobert was gone. He would destroy him. It's not even a joke. It's not even in the same stratosphere. Rudy Gobert needs to stop it. You know who Rudy Gobert is? He's a modern slight upgrade from Dikembe Mutombo. And we saw what Shaq did to him. I was there, and I love my brother Dikembe Mutombo. But we saw what Shaq did to that brother in the finals in 2000 when I was there courtside. I covered the 70s. I'm telling you what I know. When I sat up there and I had people petitioning the Philadelphia Inquirer to get me fired because I said that the Lakers are winning this in 5. The 76ers have no chance. I said, AI, get you 1. And they said, well, why not? Why not? I said, Shaq, and more Shaq. I didn't even bring up Kobe. And I told Dikembe Mutombo, don't even utter words about what you do to Shaq. I love you too much to tell the public the kind of ignorance that came out of Dikembe Mutombo's mouth, okay, in terms of what he could do against Shaq.
All right.
You couldn't do anything.
We got to go to break. By the way,
And
did
Rudy
you see
can't do
TNT
anything.
postgame? Did you see Charles Barkley and Tyler Hero's outfit? Did you see that?
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Can we get a graphic of that?
It was, I asked. They said they couldn't pull it up. You got to look on YouTube.
Okay.
It was funny.
With Shaq, I mean, you know, Barkley trying to do the walk. You know, I love.
Call me Carlos. I was falling out.
You know, these are my brothers. I really need Barkley to just lose a few pounds.
Oh my gosh. Okay, coming up
I
on
need
First
that.
Take. Is that?
I want him around.
Is that necessary?